Hey everyone, it's Justin here at 15 Hats, and in this video...
Hey, this is my channel. What are you doing?
What the heck?
Hi, it's Ashley here at 15 Hats, and today I'm here with my husband Justin, and we are going to be going over our journey, our baby journey, how we got here for our second born. It was quite a process, and I know there was a lot of people that I've connected with on the backside, the behind the scenes. A lot of people that after I shared my initial issues with unexplained secondary unexplained secondary
infertility.
There were a lot of people that I connected with behind the scenes after I shared my initial thoughts on our unexplained secondary infertility. And so I just thought I would kind of give an update and how we ended up pregnant with, when I say we, me, ended up pregnant with our second child, who is due in 2 days.
2 days.
So let's hop in. All right, so where should we start? All right, so I'm not even sure where to really start, but I guess after we had our firstborn, he was generally fairly easy to conceive, and then yeah, and then like the second go around, we were finding that it was just a lot more difficult, and I think we tried for probably 2 years on our own.
Probably 2 years. And
then within the last year, or well, now it's been more than a year, but during that time, we went and started to get help from our OBGYN, and we tried IUI and that didn't work, and then we ended up going to a fertility clinic. And it's really hard when you're trying to go to a fertility clinic because you want to make sure you find somebody that you trust and is the right provider. And for us, with this particular clinic that we initially went to, it just kind of felt like we were money bags. I don't know. Like They sent us for so many tests, like tests that I had already had run, and they made me get again. I don't know. So it just was not a good fit.
They saw like a giant paycheck. I feel like, so it's kind of hard to know, like when you're first going into it, if you can trust the place. You just assume that you can trust the place. So
yeah, so that was like our initial experience, and then they I don't know, they wanted to give me like surgery and all this stuff, and I was like, whoa, pump the brakes, like this just something doesn't feel right. So we went on the hunt for a new provider, and we found him, and he was wonderful, and their clinic was wonderful, and so we then began the process of IVF. So I don't know, what was your experience with the IVF?
Mine was it was generally pretty easy for me.
Yeah. The men have it so easy. So for me, on our side, it starts with like you get tons of tests. Like he had to get tests, I had to get tests. So our doctor, the new doctor, took a lot of the tests that we had already had run. So one of them is like they kind of check that your tubes are open from the woman's side, and then they like check out via an ultrasound to make sure everything looks good and all of that, and then they run your numbers to see kind of like your egg count, which was a little shocking when he did that, just because for me, I guess my eggs are a little bit more mature than my age for the average, I guess. So that was shocking and really scary to hear, but he didn't seem too concerned. So we went through that, and then what was the next
that being
step?
said, it's like there wasn't any apparent reason why we would have infertility,
yeah.
Right?
So we had it's called unexplained secondary infertility because they basically just have no clue why you can't get pregnant.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's more common than you know that your second child or whatnot, you have trouble conceiving, even though our first was like within 2 months, like super easy. So after, like 3 years, we were ready to have our next child. And so now, what's the gap? The gap's, it'll be 5.5 when his little brother's born. So a lot larger than our initial
well, wasn't the plan. We were like actually trying to have a smaller gap.
Yeah, but I don't know. So that happened. And then Some of the interesting things though along the way, it's just weird the things that you learn, but I was very deficient in vitamin D, and apparently that can play a role. So the doctor prescribed me a prescription for vitamin D just to get my levels back to normal, and then I took a regular vitamin D pill from there on, and then we did a bunch of shots, which I could not do myself, so he had to actually do for me.
Yeah, that was a fun experience.
Yeah. I think I used what? Follistim, Ganirelix, and what's the other one?
Right?
Lupron? I don't know. I can't even remember, you guys,
it was a lot of
at this
shots.
point. So I had several shots that I did, and when you're going through IVF, so we started the process for IVF. I don't know if I said that. We started the process for IVF, and I started the shots, which, you guys, those are very expensive. The meds for IVF are insane. Like,
yeah, and it's really the way the insurance breaks out. It's like they cover one thing but don't cover something else that you need to have. So
yeah. So if you have insurance that covers it, which we had, like, good insurance that covered our IVF costs, which is why I think that first clinic like looked at us kind of like that, and honestly, they actually made a comment out of it. Anyways, so we had good insurance, but that doesn't mean that it covers the meds, because it did not cover our meds. So the meds that you have to take to go through IVF were not covered, but the actual like process of it was.
It makes perfect sense.
So anyways, but I had a bunch of shots that I had to do. So it started out with birth control, I believe it was, because they kind of hijack your cycle, and then from there, once you're on like the right timeline, then you start your IVF meds. And then from there, you go in for multiple appointments. So I would go in and have my blood drawn, and then have ultrasounds done as I was doing the shots. So that way they could monitor, I guess, like how big all the follicles were getting, so that they didn't want to like hyperstimulate me where I had like tons. And I cannot remember how many I ended up having, how many follicles, but after all that was said and done, once I went in for the egg retrieval, we did the egg retrieval, and I think I ended up with 16 that they retrieved. Yeah. And then what happened? Then you wait for like 5 days, and they watch to see, so the men go give their little sample. Yeah. Tough work.
Have to do your job. Yeah. Okay.
Tough work.
Have to show up for work.
You have to do it at their doctor's office. Well, I guess you could have done it at home.
There's a lot of pressure, okay?
And then brought it.
It's a lot of pressure.
You could have done it at home and then brought it, but then
that seems more disturbing.
Like, it was cold out because it was like what, March at the time? I think it was March. So then they like give you all these instructions, like you have to keep it warm and like to bring it. God. So he went to the office. So anyways, then they inseminate the eggs. And you wait 5 days, so it's like
to see how many of the embryos like fertilize, right?
Yeah, so it's like a torturous 5 days. So we started with 16, and at the end we only ended up with 5 that made it to day 5 and looked good. So those are now frozen. So welcome coronavirus.
Oh yeah, the timeline is very important here.
So all of that happened, and I'm sitting here.
The egg retrieval was in like February?
I can't remember if it was in February or the beginning of March, and we were going to do the transfer at the end of March. Yeah. All I know is my transfer was scheduled for end of March. Coronavirus hit. So then we had our transfer obviously canceled because everything in our state closed down. I know every state's different. I can't even remember if, I don't know. It was during that period of time when like everywhere closed. So that was a bummer because you have to hit it now on the right timeline, right? So we missed the March transfer. Then April came and the office still wasn't open, and they opened 2 days after my cycle had started. So too late to have the April transfer now. So we're like, okay, the office is open. May comes around.
May was the time.
Yeah, and we're like, okay, we're for sure going in. So one thing also with having, you know, all these months and years that you've been trying to get pregnant is you have like a junk ton of pregnancy tests on hand, and we have a ton that are expiring. So it was actually Mother's Day, right? Mother's Day. And I was literally expecting my cycle to start on that Monday. So Sunday night, we have all these tests to waste, like who cares? So we take this test literally as a joke. Like it was a joke.
Let's just say that quarantine beginning times was a crazy time.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, you're finding anything to make yourself entertained. So we're like, okay, I'm gonna go take this test on Mother's Day or whatever. And I had no symptoms, you guys, like literally zero. I don't even know what we were thinking besides the fact.
That was the week right after that was when we were going to go in for the transfer.
I was supposed to go in that Monday to like start talking to them about the transfer, like getting it back on track and scheduled and all that. So completely crazy. So I take this test and it turns out that it is very, very, very light. At first, you were bummed because it didn't look like it was positive.
I don't know, it was very close.
No, it did not look positive. So then, you're supposed to wait 5 minutes. That's what happened. Because you were very bummed and I just didn't say anything. So I was like, oh, maybe there's still hope. Because now I've done this and it's torture if you've been through this experience, like, But, so I go back 5 minutes later and I'm like, I kind of see something and I don't know if it's because I just really want to see something there or what. But then I have him go look and he's like, you're kidding me.
I was shocked how after that long time, we were just about to start the transfer, that it just worked naturally. Yeah,
so we got pregnant. And it happened naturally and it was so bizarre, and our doctor actually said it happens more than you know, but completely crazy. We feel very, very blessed. It's been a healthy pregnancy so far, so it's just so crazy. However, we do want to have more children after this one, so should we have a problem again, like at least we have already gone through the process.
5 embryos frozen.
Yeah, so
those are kind of ours there.
Yeah, I don't know. Now it just poses like a whole other area of complication, but we will cross that path when we get there. But how crazy is that? And we just kind of wanted to share because I know I publicly shared at one point about having the unexplained secondary infertility, and I was able to connect with so many women that have gone through it or were going through it or were planning on going through and starting the process of either IVF or just starting out with IUIs and all of that. So it was kind of cool to connect with so many different women that I'm acquaintances with and had known, or friends, and I just had no clue that they had that going on. So just know you're not the only one. Like, it was shocking actually how many people.
How common it actually is.
Yeah.
Like, especially for people our own age. And
yeah, it was shocking how many people I actually connected with, and I'm sure there are more that just didn't feel comfortable reaching out because either we aren't close or they just are keeping it tight to the vest, and I can understand that either way. But just know if you're going through it, like, there are a lot, a shocking number of women going through it, and maybe not for their second or third or fourth child, but for even just their first. So I don't know, hopefully this was helpful. It's just kind of like a little bit of a insight into what happened with us. It was just the most crazy journey on earth, but we do feel blessed, and in 2 days we should have or start the process in 2 days. We're going in for an induction, so we shall see. It'll probably be a little bit longer than 2 days, but otherwise
having a little kiddo running around here pretty soon.
That was our baby journey and coronavirus combined. Crazy time. So anyways, we shall see you in the next video. Maybe my husband will join.
I'm gonna go back behind the camera now.
Yeah, or he's not too fun. But anyways, we'll see you next time, and can't wait to get back to regular content.
This video, you didn't say it.
Yeah,
You didn't say it.